Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? I don't know if you caught this video, but Grant Cardone, Elena Cardone, put out a video. I think it was today. It's about 5 minutes long or so, talking about the keys to success. I thought it was interesting. Obviously, well done. Fancy plane, fancy car, fancy watch, all that stuff. But it really got me thinking. What has been the keys to success for one rental at a time? What is it about one rental at a time, the book, the message, this channel, that I hope are kind of, keys to its success? So real quick, if you haven't listened to Grant's and Elena's video yet, there's basically 4 keys that I took away. One is hard work. Second, don't quit. Third is courage to keep going. And fourth was a supportive partner. When I look at the top 5 things that have made one rental at a time success, this is what I hope comes through. Number one is, I will agree, having a supportive partner is paramount. It is vitally important. If you've read our story, you know that our first rental property on Norris Drive did not turn out very well. And it was that one decision point after that horrible experience that could have derailed our entire journey or kept us going. And Olivia's support through that really was the start of what became something very special. So I entirely agree. A supportive partner, man, woman, dog, child, whatever it is it's important, because there are hard days. There are bad days in this business. There are days that are draining and you feel like, God, when is it ever going to stop? There are bad days, and those bad days can lead to better things, or they can just crush you. And a lot of that will depend on your partner, supportive or not. Number 2, for me, was focus. One rental at a time, the entire 15-year journey. We had a busy career that took us all over the world. Three countries in a week were not uncommon. And, 4 nights in hotels, not uncommon. And the ability to stay focused for me was not only on a market. I always get asked, why didn't you go to other markets? Why didn't you expand? I didn't have time. I just didn't have time. I could only focus my energy on one market and feel like I had any type of control. So focus was a good thing. And I think too many of us get distracted, not only by markets, but different types, right? Do you want to buy and hold? Do you want to Airbnb? Do you want to house hack? Do you know it? I mean, there's so many things you can do in real estate that I don't want to say distract you, but clearly when I think about the one rental at a time success, and what I hope comes across in the book and the courses, focus is good. The only way I could look at my market every day for nearly 20 years is by being focused. It's a 10 or 15-minute exercise. So that was important. And along with focus, I stayed in my lane, right? I stayed in the first 5 or 6 years. It was all about houses. But houses, when they got overpriced, we went to apartments. But it was always monthly rentals. Never went daily, never went rooms, never went student housing, right? I stayed in my lane, which is important. Next is both conservative financing and live below our means. Live below our means is important. It doesn't get as much credit, I think, by folks out in YouTube or Instagram or any social media platform. The reason we were able to continue to grow is we really got good at understanding our wants versus needs. I'm here to tell you our needs were always taken care of. The things that we needed, we got done. It's our wants that we sacrificed. And I've said it many times. I remember pulling over at 11 or 12 years into our journey and just losing it because we had just gone to yet another open house, or not open house, housewarming, another housewarming. And people lower in my organization were living in nicer houses. And I felt like a failure after 11 or 12 years. Think about that, feeling like a failure after 11 or 12 years. But thankfully, 4 or 5 years later, we got to the finish line, and it turned out okay. But live below our means is important. But again, also conservative finance. I happen to invest in California, which if you go back and look at the averages for real estate, it's very up and down, right? We have high peaks and low lows. I was always conservatively financed. It was frankly the lack of cash flow that caused us to look at multifamily back in '06. And it's frankly what had us sell apartments in 2019 because it wasn't there, right? So we are very conservative finance, and sometimes to a fault, sure, but we don't bet on appreciation. It happens, but it's not part of any of our calculations. Along with that one, kind of number four is um, we sold when we thought things were overvalued, right? This starts in '06 when we did 1031 exchanges out of houses. Again, you buy a house for 107 and you sell it for 264 3.5 years later. And you can go to Zillow and look it up. It's 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. The numbers are there right in Zillow. And it's overvalued because the rent didn't change. Rent didn't change for like 8 years. It was 1095, call it 1100. But it went up 150%. That's nuts. That's all because of fake financing. So we sold when stuff were overvalued, technically exchanged. But same thing goes for 2019. A lot of the heat that I took in 2019 was from people telling me that bigger is better and that I was an idiot for selling apartments. Well, how do you like me now? Right? Value add properties, C class, they're hard to own in a recession. And when they're at cap rates at 5.5 in an 8 cap market, that's nuts. But again, we sell when stuff is overpriced and move around, but we stay in our niche, which is very important. And the last one, it's what I talk about, is probably my most quoted thing, is just learn your market. I did a video earlier today about deal or no deal where a gentleman called me up from Fresno, all excited about a 5-unit building. But when I put it through my model and what I teach and what I walk people through, it's a 1.9% return in a 6% market. That's not a deal. Plus, it appraised for basically 10% less than you agreed to buy it for. That should be a signal. And it needs 2 or 3x more work than you think it needs. I mean, that was so not a deal. But in a market where there's no inventory, you have money burning a hole in your pocket, you feel like you have to do something. Just stop. Take a breath. Take a pause. And please, as I told this gentleman yesterday, just go learn your market for 90 days. Go figure out, and that way when you call me next time, you can tell me that Fresno's a 6 or a 6.5% average deal. And then I'll go, cool, what do you got? And then if you have something that's a 5.5 or a 6, we can talk because maybe your numbers are wrong. But when you got a 1.9 and the actual appraisal, which you spent thousands of dollars on, comes in 40K less than you agreed to buy it for, that should be a sign. You should not be hurt when I tell you that that's not a deal. I just crushed his dreams. And I promise you, if he would have done the homework that I talk about in my course, he would not have even called me. It would not have even been a deal. 1.9% cash on cash return in a market that would take several $100,000, not a deal. You could deploy that almost 300 grand in single family homes and do much, much better. So in the end, for me, the keys to success, one, paramount, support a partner. If you don't know the journey, read the book. There's a horrible event that happens in our first rental, which would have crushed most people. 2 was focus, and we stayed in our lane. We didn't go to other markets. We didn't go to other types. We had conservative financing and all of those things. We are and live below our means, conservative financing and live below our means. Conservative financing always. We were not afraid to sell or exchange when our stuff was overvalued. I call it dancing through raindrops. And then finally, we learned our market. We knew what our market returned on average. We understand what a bad, average, good, and great deals are. So at the end of the day, that's what I think one rental at a time is. That's what I hope you get from reading the book. You can do me a favor. If you've read the book on Amazon, please leave a 5-star review. If you've listened on Audible, do me a favor, please leave a 5-star review. We're almost to 200 Amazon reviews, and that would be quite the mark to get to if you don't mind. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. I am going to go work out. Take care. Bye.